in the presence of your being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. We acknowledge thy presence and thy power, O blessed Spirit. In thy divine wisdom now, erase our mortal limitations, and from thy pure substance of love, bring into manifestation our world, according to thy perfect law. I feel wonderful, I feel wonderful, for this is a glorious day. I feel wonderful, I feel wonderful, and I'm going to stay that way. You look wonderful, you look wonderful, for this is a glorious day. You look wonderful, you look wonderful, and we're going to stay that way. We are wonderful, we are wonderful, for this is a glorious day. We are wonderful, we are wonderful, and we're going to stay that way. And our daily word for today, Mother's Blessing. I honor and bless the world's mothers. Today I offer a blessing of gratitude for the loving, nurturing spirit of mothers. I bless my mother and those who have shared a mother's love by supporting me throughout my life. I think of the many ways they have been present for me over the years with unconditional acceptance and love. I envision all the mothers, grandmothers, and caregivers throughout the world surrounded by love and light. For those in my life, I take time to express my appreciation with words, gifts, and time together. To mothers-to-be, I prayerfully affirm health and ever-deepening joy. To mothers no longer in the world, I hold them in loving prayer and hold thoughts of joy and gratitude. I bless their souls' ongoing journeys, knowing bonds of love keep their memories alive. Her children raise up and call her happy. Proverb 31:28. God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am an individualized expression of God. I am ever one with His perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. You know, when things don't go exactly like they usually do, we get a little confused sometimes, and that's okay. So now that we have said our statement of being, I just want to remind you that statement of being isn't just something we recite as a rote piece. We think about it when we say it. And it's very important for us to think about that statement of being, because that's really why we come to Unity East on Sunday mornings and Saturdays and other times. I don't know, some of us were here yesterday. We had a wonderful Mother's Day tea, and it was just so special. We had beautiful antique-looking teacups, whether they really were or not, I don't know, and delicious teas and tea sandwiches and scones, and it was just delightful. And lots of pretty hats, and we see there's a couple of hat wearers here today again, so we appreciate that. So let's prepare for our meditation by remembering
from our statement of being that each of us, let's say that one sentence together, that I am sentence. I am an individualized expression of God. Because that's who we truly are. And we forget that way too often. So with that in mind, let's prepare ourselves for meditation. Close your eyes if you wish. Relax. Take a couple of deep breaths. Center yourself in your heart space, where your everyday self comes into connection with that higher Christ self that is always there, patiently waiting for us to just pay attention, just to listen, to be still. We pray and we talk to that divine presence. We talk to that presence that lives in, through, and as us. And then in meditation, we allow that presence and power to speak to us. And it may not speak to us in words. It may just be a feeling. It may be on a billboard. It may be when we're spending time with our friends and family, or just remembering those we love, and maybe those who have already gone and are waiting to meet us once more. We are so grateful to be in this space of oneness, wholeness, knowingness. And in this space, let us spend a few moments in silence where we really listen. Divine Spirit, on this Mother's Day, we hear the words of our Holy Parent, the words of our Christ self speaking to us, reminding us that all things are working together for our highest good. And that presence and power, living in, through, and as us, is with us and can do all things, even the things that we are so unable to do for ourselves. And we are so grateful for the mothers who entered our lives, whether they were biological mothers or spiritual mothers, or mothers that didn't even appear in the flesh, yet we know that they were there for us. We are so grateful for all of the experiences that we've had of the divine feminine in our hearts and in our lives. And together, we all respond with our congregational response.
Of my heart.
certain extent, I do think mothers are angels, even the mothers that weren't the best mothers in the world. But let me start off by saying Happy Mother's Day to all the moms, grandmas, great-grandmas, all the moms who don't have their children here with them any longer. Because, you know, whether our children are infants or toddlers, I did my first baptism last weekend. That was interesting. Toddlers, I haven't been around toddlers for a while. But you know, whether they're infants or toddlers, or even when they leave us, we're always moms. And you know, I think even those women and men who didn't have children somehow know the feeling of parenthood. Because we have to parent, if nobody else, we have to parent ourselves. You know, because I look at parents parenting toddlers, and boy, what a wonderful experience of life that is. And I think to myself, I'm really glad I had my children when I was younger, because I'm not so certain that I would have quite the amount of patience today that I had back then. And so we're so grateful for the people who raised us and helped raise us. I love, one of my favorite biblical passages comes from 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4 through 7, so I'd like to just repeat it. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful, does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. And I believe that passage sums up a mother's love quite well. Because, you know, we go through stuff. And a mother doesn't always know what kind of impression she leaves on her children's lives. Because sometimes our children don't tell us sometimes they tell us what they feel at the moment, and what they feel at the moment is not the same thing as they feel when they know that mom is the only person that they can turn to. And a couple of quotes, a couple of little stories actually, about famous people and how they felt about their moms. One comes from Thomas Edison, and he said, "I did not have my mother long, but she cast over me an influence that has lasted all my life. The good effects of her early training I can never lose. If it had not been for her appreciation and faith in me at a critical time in my experience, I should very likely never have become an inventor. I was always a careless boy, and with a mother of a different mental caliber, I should have turned out badly. But her firmness, her sweetness, her goodness were potent powers to keep me on the right path. My mother was the making of me, and the memory of her will always be a blessing to me." And isn't that something that many of us can say? I didn't have my mother for very long either. I was only 11 years old she was gone. And so the memories I have of my mother are a little sketchy, but I remember her sweetness. I remember her goodness. I remember her skill at playing jacks. Boy, she was good. And it is those sweet memories, the pickled pig's feet in the refrigerator that I always thought were the grossest things in the world. But Mama loved them, so they were always there. And, you know, regardless of what your memories of your mother are, or maybe you're one of the fortunate few that still have Mom around today. And those are memories that will stay in our hearts and minds forever. And I'm so grateful to have them. Another famous person, Winston Churchill, who was the Prime Minister of the UK during World War II, was asked to approve a list of teachers who positively impacted his life. And when the note was returned from Churchill after reviewing the list, he had one comment, and it was this: "You have omitted to mention the greatest teacher in my life, my mother." So when we remember our moms, we remember the lessons they taught us. We remember the good. I certainly hope that if there are any less than wonderful memories, that those are the ones we decide to let go of. Because a mother's love is something that, in my opinion, could also be called unconditional love. And the definition of unconditional love is love without limitations. Another word for it is altruism, which is a selfless concern for the well-being of others. A mother's love has no bounds and is unchanging regardless of circumstances. You know, I remember when my kids were younger and in school, and they didn't always bring home the best report cards. You know, I don't know about you guys, but it was like the daughter was the one that got the good grades and the son, not so much. But regardless of whether we're happy about the grades they get in school, or the choices they make, or the less than wonderful choices that they make, it doesn't affect how much we love our children. What it may do is give us an opportunity to talk about how our choices affect not only the moment, but the future. They give us an opportunity to talk about how what we give out comes back to us tenfold. It gives us an opportunity to think about how we treat others is truly a reflection of how we treat ourselves. And I know I've told this story before, but it was actually a shock to me when I realized that the way I was talking to myself was, in many cases, very unkind. And if you think about how you speak to yourself, when you make a mistake, what are you saying to yourself? Are you kind and forgiving and remembering, I'm doing the best I can, maybe that wasn't the best choice and it didn't turn out the way I planned it to? Or maybe sometimes we get overly emotional about a situation. And we end up saying something in the heat of that emotion that we really are not too thrilled with ourselves about after the fact. And so how do we treat ourselves then? That's the time that we forgive. That's the time that we remember who we truly are. I am an individualized expression of God. However, I am in the midst of a very human experience. And at my core, I am love. And at my core, I am goodness. And at my core, I am that spirit individualized. And when we remember who we truly are, then we can treat ourselves the way we would want to treat our children, even when they make the biggest messes. I remember, I think it's been a couple of years ago now, my grandson, who was a fairly new driver at the time, he was at a stop sign. Unfortunately, he had a device in the car with him that he was paying more attention to than the road in front of him, and he rear-ended a car and totally destroyed the front end of the car that he had just gotten only a few months earlier. Now, his parents were not real thrilled with that because, I don't know about you, but insuring a teenager is not really the least expensive thing I've ever done in my life. And so consequently, they didn't have collision on the car. But what, you know, I really admire my son-in-law for how he handled this. Because the car was a mess. And it wasn't an expensive car. But he spent the next, I don't know how many months, working with my grandson to A, pay for the parts, and B, put the car back together so that it was not only drivable, but it looked just as good as it had before the accident. And as far as I know, there were never any harsh words over that. And I'm not so sure that I'd have been that good back in the day. Because, you know, A, I don't have the expertise to repair a car. So maybe that helped, I don't know. But I just, you know, you think about how many things we are given the opportunity. I think we're given children as the opportunity for growth. Yeah. Because I think that's where a lot of mine had come from. I have learned so, you know, when I did the baptism this last weekend, one of the lines that I wrote in preparation for the message was that not only will that little boy learn from his parents will learn a lot from him. And haven't we all? Haven't we all learned so much from our children? Another very important thing about unconditional love is that it's given freely to everyone, especially and including ourselves. We can only give to others what we have to give. Now, if you think about this in the physical world, it's very obvious. If a neighbor comes by and says, "Oh, I'm in the middle of making cookies and I ran out of sugar. Do you have any extra sugar?" Now, if you go to your cupboard and you've just run out of sugar yourself, you can't very easily loan them sugar, now can you? Well, the same thing is true in the non-physical. How much love we have for ourselves is how much love we can give to others. Unconditional love means dropping the list of ways we need to be different before we're good enough in our own eyes. I think there's somebody in this room that needs to hear that sentence again. So pay attention. Unconditional love means dropping the list of ways we need to be different before we're good enough in our own eyes. So often we are judging ourselves, and in our own self-judgment we are falling short of the mark. Come on, peeps. Give yourself some credit. You deserve it. When you think about all the wonderful things you've done and all the tough stuff that you've overcome, pay attention to that. And pay attention to the way you talk to yourself. How many times do you give yourselves a good job pat on the back? Because that's what we want to be doing. We want to be our own cheerleaders. We want to be telling ourselves that we are good and we deserve all the good that can possibly come into our lives. Because when we tell ourselves that, guess what we're drawing to us? If we're telling ourselves something other than that, if we're telling ourselves we don't deserve or we're not good enough, then instead of drawing all that good to us, we're just keeping it away. So let's commit to treating ourselves and our families with compassion, with understanding, with caring. And when somebody makes a mistake, let's not judge too harshly. I mean, I remember the first time, it's the old saying, there's no use crying over spilled milk. Well, I don't know about you, but there was probably a time or two that my kids spilled milk. And it's a mess. But it's also an opportunity for us to demonstrate, to illustrate to our children the way to handle a mess. One of the other things that this baptism did for me is it reminded me of an old poem. I bet you there's a mom or two somewhere near my age that has read the poem or had it hanging on the refrigerator. Children learn what they live. Anybody remember that? Well, I just happen to have that left over from this wonderful little experience of a baptism. And it says, if a child lives with criticism, they learn to condemn. If a child lives with hostility, they learn to fight. If a child lives with ridicule, they learn to be shy. If a child lives with shame, they learn to feel guilty. If a child lives with tolerance, they learn to be patient. If a child lives with encouragement, they learn to be confident. If a child lives with praise, they learn to appreciate. If a child lives with fairness, they learn justice. With security, they learn to have faith. With approval, they learn to like themselves. With acceptance and friendship, they learn to find love in the world. And isn't that what we want? Not only for our children, but for ourselves. As I was preparing for this message, I came across something very interesting I'd like to share with you. And think about how many times in the Hebrew Bible men are climbing mountains for the purpose of communing with God. You know, I couldn't find a single story about a woman climbing a mountain. Not a single one. And why do you think that is? Well, I think they're just too busy. They couldn't simply walk away from taking care of their children and their families. They had little ones to teach and clean up after. They had meals to prepare, gardens to take care of, kitchens to clean, and hundreds of other things that mothers do. So in this little article, I had a good explanation for this. And it said that men had to climb the mountains to commune with the divine, but women and mothers are caregivers. They don't have to climb mountains because they know divine presence is always with them, right where they are. So think about it. What about the story of the woman at the well? Divinity met her there at the well, where women get their water and carry it home to take care of their families. Divine presence is in their homes, in their kitchens, in their gardens. Spirit is present when a woman gives birth. It's there when they're sitting next to a sick child or an aging parent. God is there whether you're simply putting a Band-Aid on a skinned knee or comforting a teen with a broken heart. Even at Jesus' empty tomb, Mary was the first to see the resurrected Christ. Why? Because she was there to do the womanly duty of preparing the body for burial. So story after story in the Bible reminds us how women found themselves in ordinary situations in the face of God. So if you're a busy woman like me, and you feel like you just don't have time to climb a mountain or sit for hours to commune with the divine, it's okay. We are seen. Our prayers are heard. And remember, we don't have to do anything special or go anywhere out of the ordinary. Wherever you are, God is. Namaste. So let's close by saying and praying together the prayer that Jesus taught us, the Lord's Prayer. is time for tithes and offerings, and this is the time of abundance. This is the time that we know that God is good all the time, that God gives to us exactly what we need, exactly when we need it. We live in such an abundant universe, and I love this time of the year because it is such a great reminder of that. Because all of the plants that were non-existent or the branches that were bare are fully leaved out. The flowers are beginning to bloom, and this is the time that we can see the renewal of abundance. So let's take our gifts in our hands and repeat together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give joyfully and easily, for the universe is my source, and abundance is my nature.
Okay, this is called Simple Gifts, and some of you might know it. It's from the Shaker community. The Shaker song written by Joseph Braddock in 1848. The Shakers believe simplicity is a divine attribute. It's a gift to be simple, it's a gift to be free. It's a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in a place just right, we'll keep the melody of love and delight. When true simplicity is king, to bow and to bed, we
And together let's end with our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us wherever